Дорогие друзья, спасибо большое за ожидание. Мы приносим свою, извините, небольшую задержку. На самом деле, мне вдвойне приятно, что в стенах своего родного института у меня есть возможность представить Фрэнка Тиеманна, менеджера по связям с общественностью в Европе Rolls-Royce. Как мы все знаем, Rolls-Royce МГИМО, вот else, как мы могли бы сказать. Поэтому я хотела бы передать слово Франку, который расскажет нам про сам бренд, его позицию, построение, как работать с ним в современном мире. So, Frank, you're welcome.
Thanks for your kind introductory remarks, Tatiana. I'm absolutely sure whatever you said, you were right, because my Russian is very limited. Forgive me, I will continue in English. For me, it's definitely a very special occasion to come to university, because it's always a nice reminder of the best time I had in my life. And I've just used the opportunity to write something on the board, something I've never done at my university, so it was a very special moment for me. In the next several minutes, I would love to share some insights with you into, well, the luxury segment of the automotive industry, but more about insights into the luxury industry in general, insights into an automotive myth, insights into Rolls-Royce Motor Cars. Let me briefly start with an overview over more than 100 years history. I'm not going to talk you through each and every detail here, but the story began in 1904 when the famous two gentlemen, the engineer Henry Royce and the engineer Charles Rolls met, and they found a congenial partner in each other and decided to build the best car in the world. As both gentlemen were engineers, the best car in the world from an engineering perspective. They started straight away with the development of the very first Rolls-Royce, and funny enough, the first Rolls-Royce was built before the company was founded. First car was built in 1904 and the company was founded in 1906. I'm sure that most of you will know the famous Spirit of Ecstasy, the Flying Lady, the mascot, which sits on the grille of each and every Rolls-Royce. This figurine was created in 1911, and some of you might have read about her history, her story, a story full of romance and love and tragedy as well. In 1916, during the First World War, the first aero engine was produced by Rolls-Royce. And in 1931, Bentley joined Rolls-Royce. Interestingly enough, from our point of view nowadays, as even 80 years ago, or more than 80 years ago, Rolls-Royce discovered that it's not possible to stretch a brand like Rolls-Royce even into the sporty niche, but Rolls-Royce saw market potential in that sporty niche. So Bentley became part of the company. In the 1970s, Rolls-Royce went through some tough times. Rolls-Royce was in big trouble, in financial trouble, due to a miscalculation for the engineering of a new aero engine. And at that point of time, it was still possible to receive financial aid, to receive financial support from the government, from the British government. But the requirement from the government was that both divisions are split, and since then there is a division, a separate company which produces aero engines, and a separate independent company which produces automobiles. The company for the aero engines is called Rolls-Royce plc, and the company for the automobiles is called Rolls-Royce Motor Cars or Motors. Some of you might have read as well about this famous bid, the competitive bid between VW and BMW in 1998. The outcome was that since 1998, Bentley belongs to VW, to the Volkswagen Group, and Rolls-Royce belongs to BMW. So since 1998, effective 1st of January 2003, Rolls-Royce Motor Cars belongs to to BMW. And as it was such an emotional moment for us to hand over the very first new Phantom, the very first new car, we said we need to celebrate that. As we got the rights to use the Rolls-Royce brand on the 1st of January 2003, we decided that we hand over the very first new Phantom to the customer, to the very first customer, 1 second after midnight on the 1st of January 2003. I understand that there are many, many PR experts and professionals amongst us, and I'm sure you will understand this was a great, great PR story as well. Since 2003, the home of Rolls-Royce Motor Cars is at Goodwood, West Sussex, halfway between Brighton and Portsmouth in southern England. And what I would like to do is to invite you for a quick, a 2-minute virtual visit to Goodwood, to the place where the Rolls-Royces are being built. Well, as you have seen, the manufacturing philosophy of Rolls-Royce is very much based on a combination of high-tech approaches and craftsmanship, which allows us to build truly individual cars, individual like your fingerprint. We are using latest technologies, we are using cutting-edge technologies during the production phase of the car, very modern materials like aluminium for the aluminium space frame of the car, but we're using true craftsmanship. And you've seen Mark, the coach line painter, in this picture as well. You've seen him in the video. It takes literally 3 hours to paint that coach line by hand, but it adds a very personal, a very individual touch to our cars. We invest more than 400 hours into the production of each and every vehicle. And out of these 400 hours, we invest 9 hours for testing only. Each and every car is tested for 9 hours. To put that into relation, a Renault Twingo is produced in 3 hours. So the overall car is produced in 3 hours, and we invest 9 hours only in testing of that car. A quick overview over our product portfolio and where we came from. And of course, as we have such a strong and rich history, our design team tried to identify the design DNA of Rolls-Royce. Went back into the history, tried to spot the great cars out of the 1920s and 1930s. And you see an example here, it's a famous Phantom II, early 1930s, and you can see the proportions, the details, which still apply to a contemporary, to a current Rolls-Royce. A nice PR story related to that. The entire design process for the Phantom, which was launched in 2003, was done in a former bank. And as it was a confidential project, our designers locked their sketches, their design sketches and their first ideas up in the safe of that former bank in the city centre of London, because it was, from our point of view, the right source for inspiration, something like the living room for a Rolls-Royce, because in London you see many people commuting with their Rolls-Royce into the city centre to go to work, actually. When you ask me what is Rolls-Royce all about, it's very, very individual. From our point of view, it's about engineering integrity. As the two founders were engineers, engineering is at the core of our philosophy. Quality, reliability, attention to detail, the finest materials, the finest leather, the finest wood you can get in the automotive industry are core to our production philosophy and to the experience you have in a Rolls-Royce. And when it comes to the experience, it's definitely hard to describe the feeling you have in a Rolls-Royce. Don't know how many have had the chance to sit in a Rolls-Royce yet. Anyone in the room who had the chance to sit in a Rolls-Royce and be driven? So I would say it's maybe 1 or 2% of the audience. And I hope that you'll agree that it was something really special. In 1911, a journalist wrote about his experience in a Rolls-Royce. It's like being wafted through the countryside. And our marketing colleagues in 1911 were very clever. And even in 1911, they picked up this being wafted through the countryside, created the expression waftability, which is, I'm afraid, not translatable. You won't find it in your dictionary. But it describes the magic carpet ride. Very smooth, very silky, but powerful acceleration, like you would experience it on a magic carpet. Although I have to admit, I've never been on a magic carpet yet. But of course, driving a Rolls-Royce is about that sense of drama you have when you arrive at a hotel, when you depart from a hotel as well. Be sure, if you arrive in a Rolls-Royce, the doorman will definitely open the door for you. That doesn't happen with each and every other car. So it adds that glamorous touch, that sense of drama, which is normally linked to a Rolls-Royce. Quick overview, what we did over recent years. 2003, as mentioned, Phantom, the four-door saloon. In 2005, the Phantom extended wheelbase, which is even 25 centimeters longer than the Phantom. In 2007, maybe the most sensual experience you can have in a Rolls-Royce. I do myself driving up the Côte d'Azur from Cassis to Monaco in that car, in the drop-head coupe, in a convertible in March or April when the sun is shining down there and it's not too crowded. In 2008 then, Phantom Coupe, maybe the most romantic experience you can have in a Rolls-Royce. It's got a lovely, lovely feature which is called Starlight Headliner, 1,500 hand-fixed stars in the ceiling which you can dim. And just imagine you're sitting behind the steering wheel and the lady of your heart, or the man of the heart, is sitting beside you and switch on that Starlight Headliner. It's amazing, believe me. Just recently at the Geneva Motor Show, we have launched a technological update to the Phantom family called Phantom Series 2. Some major changes under the bonnet. We did ask our customers, what would you change, if any, when it comes to the Phantom family? And they said, nothing, just update the navigation system and some technological devices. So since last week, we've got Phantom Series 2, which offers straight away iPhone, iPod, whatsoever connection to the car via Bluetooth, which offers an even smoother riding comfort and even better waftability feeling. just presented at the Geneva Motor Show. For those who've got the chance, Geneva is still on, so if you want to go to Geneva to see it, it's still there till the end of next week. Rolls-Royce always had its best times when we were able to offer two distinct model lines. And so in 2009, we decided to develop, to design, to engineer a second model line called Ghost. And you hear it, phantom, ghost, intangible things, great tradition at Rolls-Royce to name our cars after these spooky things, phantom, wrath, Seraph, etc., etc. So in 2009, we launched the Ghost. And last year, end of last year, we had the European premiere of the Ghost extended wheelbase, which will have its Russian debut in March this year, so this month. Ghost was quite important for the development of our company when it comes to the customer base, because 80% of the customers who've bought a Ghost haven't had a Rolls-Royce before. And 10% of the customers, of the Ghost customers, are women. Some other automotive brands would love about a share of 10%. I can imagine that Mini has got 70 or 80%. But for us, it was a major, major step forward. And it just reflects the development in society. There are more and more women who are running their own company, who are very successful, and say after 5, 10, 15 years, it's time to reward myself for the hard work, and now I'm investing into a luxury good like a Rolls-Royce. Our business is actually not about cars. It is about individualization and personalization. A Rolls-Royce is always a very individual choice. And our league, so to say, our segment is jewelry, masterpieces of art, and some other collector's item more than other cars. And so our customers want to have a truly individual, truly unique car. And that's why we offer the bespoke program. The range is from 44,000 exterior colors, so you can literally match your favorite color of your nail varnish with the color of your car, down to technological changes. You see the Peninsula Hotel here. We've enlarged the trunk, the boot for the Peninsula Hotels in order to have more space for luggage, for suitcases. And you can have your personal, your private Scottish tartan, the pattern, if you wish to, in your boot, a forgotten area which our customers use from time to time for further individualization of the car. The Falcon, by the way, is very popular in the Middle East, as you can imagine. Very important for our business. I would say that last year, nearly each and every Phantom, so nearly 100% of Phantoms, were featuring a type of bespoke option. And nearly 50% of the Ghosts were manufactured under the bespoke program. For us, it's sometimes more interesting to build one heavy bespoke car instead of two standard. I struggle to stay standard when it comes to Rolls-Royce, but instead of building two standard Rolls-Royces, more profitable for us, and the customer gets a car which is as unique as his fingerprint. So a lovely win-win situation. We and our customers do think about the future as well. And last year at the Geneva Motor Show, so exactly 1 year ago, we did present a Phantom with a 100% electric drivetrain. That car went on a global tour. It went to Tokyo, it went to China, it went to Paris, etc., etc., in order to get feedback, in order to gather feedback from our customers. What do they think about alternative drivetrains in general? Is it perfection, and that's what we are aiming for, or is it a compromise? We are currently processing the data which we received out of more than 500 customer test drives, and will publish first results of that global tour, hopefully in April. What I can say, the feedback was very heterogeneous, because there are customers who say, what do you think about an electric drivetrain? A Rolls-Royce should be equipped with a V12 engine. And some other customers who said, great, it's even more silent, it's even more waftability than the Phantom already offers. So 102X, a great market research tool to get in touch with more than 500 customers and to gather their feedback on alternative drivetrains in general. We are very sensitive when it comes to figures. So you won't hear any sales numbers for Russia here. But what I can share with you are some rankings and the global figures. The most important markets for Rolls-Royce Motor Cars last year: first, China for the very first time. Until last year, it was always since the 1920s, so for 90 years, the United States. And the third largest market globally, our home market, Great Britain. In Europe, logically, Great Britain was the best-selling market, second best Russia, and then with a huge gap, Germany. So these are our most important markets. Last year, we saw a really, really interesting development, I have to say. Phantom, in its 8th year of the product life cycle, was showing growth. So we sold more Phantoms in 2011 than in 2010. A clear sign that it is a timeless masterpiece. But we saw the additional momentum of Ghost as well. European sales continued in 2011 with a healthy increase. We had a growth of more than 20% in Europe. In Russia, we have doubled our sales. So Russia was showing the biggest momentum in Europe. And we had a new record year for Rolls-Royce globally, in Europe and in Russia. As you can imagine, a year which was pleasing us very much. The figures since we established the company at Goodwood in 2003, the first year was not a full production year, but you do see steady growth. You do see a dip as well in the peak year of the financial crisis, a slight dip that was major to the development in the US and in China. In Europe, we saw even at the peak year of the financial crisis a record year. So Europe was always a stabilizing factor for our sales figures, for our sales development over recent years. And last year, due to the momentum of Ghost and the sustained demand for Phantom, a new record figure, 3,538 cars sold globally. And you see, based on that figure, that we are still operating in a very, very small niche. 3,500 cars globally is not too many for an exclusive, for a luxury brand. But we have to think about the future. We have to think about our customers in the future as well. And when you think about our customers, and I'm sure that you may know some, you might think about these two gentlemen. You think about the sheikh in the Middle East. You think about the owner of horse stables in the UK. You might think about a younger clientele like these two gentlemen, and these are real customers. So they have agreed that we can show their pictures. But you might not think about these two gentlemen. The gentleman in the upper right corner is a Japanese entrepreneur who's into the business of individualizing clothing on a very high level, actually. He bought his first Phantom when he was 25, and he's got 4 Phantoms right now. The gentleman bottom right is actually in our business. He's the founder of Rob Report in the US. I actually don't know if he takes his surfboard in a Phantom to the beach, but he drives his own car. He uses his Phantom on as many occasions as possible. The message between the lines here is our customers are different than you might expect them to be. You might expect a gentleman in his 60s with a chauffeur sitting on the driver's seat. That's not true anymore. Our customers are getting younger and younger and younger. And so a brand like Rolls-Royce has to develop as well in order to stay attractive, in order to preserve its appeal for our customers in their 30s or early 40s. And most of our customers are not representing old money. They are representing somehow mid-age money. They founded their company 10, 15, 20 years ago, and it applies throughout Europe and throughout Russia. We've got the same structure. 80% of our customers are entrepreneurs, and the other 20% are leading their field in entertainment or in sport or in music or elsewhere. 80% are entrepreneurs, so they know exactly that they work very hard for their money. They know exactly that they don't want to pay every price for a car. They want to see the real value under the bonnet. They want to see the real added value offered by Rolls-Royce to them. When we look into the future, and that's definitely a very interesting development for us, we're using two indicators defined by the consultancy Capgemini. They're using an indicator called ultra-high net worth individuals. These are people with net assets of more than 30 million US dollars. It's not real estate, it's liquidity tomorrow, bank account and shares. So it's not real estate. And there were in 2009 already roughly 80,000 of these ultra-high net worth individuals. At least as interesting for us, the high net worth individuals, because you don't need $30 million on your bank account to be able to afford a Rolls-Royce. So the high net worth individuals are as important for us. In 2009, already nearly 9 million people with net assets of more than 1 million US dollar. And these are not the famous bankers. In order to reach a net worth of more than 1 million, you have to have constantly high income. So it's not the bonus of a banker. These are really wealthy people, not the rich ones who earn for 1 year a million and that's it. For us, a very interesting observation was the prediction for the future. The number of wealthy people is growing across the world. We see highest growth rates for our potential clientele in Asia, but we do see growth in Europe, we do see growth in each and every country, including Russia, for the foreseeable future. And that makes it really, really attractive for us to think about the future and, of course, about our future customers. That's why we invest into our premises. That's why we have invested for the launch of the Ghost. That's why we increased our workforce as the only manufacturer, automotive manufacturer, while other manufacturers were trying to reduce their workforce. And that's why we are currently investing additional £10 million into Goodwood, mainly for the personalization and individualization program, mainly for the capacity for bespoke. Our embassies around the world, there are 86 dealerships globally, and to put that into relation, I don't know about the number of BMW dealerships in Russia, but I can imagine it's roughly 100 dealerships in Russia for BMW. And we do have 86 dealerships around the world. Our dealership in Russia, the only one we have currently, is based at the Hotel Ukraine. It's Rolls-Royce Motor Cars Moscow. We do have, beyond Moscow, 13 additional dealerships in continental Europe and 7 in the UK. So a very carefully selected, hand-picked dealer network. The decisive point is not being near to our customers. The decisive point is being mentally near to our customers to understand their wishes and needs. And it doesn't really matter if the customer lives 2,000 kilometers away. There's always an individual solution. I know if one customer bought his car in Moscow and lives 2,000 kilometers away, the service technician is taking his mobile equipment and flying into the home city of that customer to service his car, to do the maintenance for his car. So our customers are a very rare breed, and it's really hard to get in touch with them. You can't send them a letter. You can't approach them via the telephone and say, hello, I'm Frank from Rolls-Royce. I would love to make an appointment with you to talk about our great cars. They are very reluctant to traditional means and measures of marketing. And that's why Goodwood, our home, is so important. It's a very powerful tool. We don't have too many customers who come to Goodwood to pick up their car. We do have many customers who come to Goodwood to specify their car at Goodwood and sign the contract at Goodwood. And these are two impressions of the plant. The right side showing a great festival called Goodwood Revival, where you see historic race cars racing against each other at the Goodwood racetrack. A nice opportunity to invite customers to something you cannot buy for money, and that's the decisive point. As they can buy everything you can get for money, we need to create occasions you cannot buy for money, like vintage car meetings at Villa d'Este, by Lake Como, etc., etc., etc. The way we communicate, and you do see on the left-hand side an advert from the 1950s. What I find really remarkable is the photography, because it shows a simple village shop. So in the 1950s, it was quite common to drive with a Rolls-Royce to the village shop and get some vegetables. But the decisive point is the strap lines, the claim. At 60 miles an hour, the loudest noise in the new Rolls-Royce comes from the electric clock. And it still applies. Noise, the absence of noise, silence, are very important to our definition of luxury. So we want to keep our customers away from the hectics of the outside world, as we truly believe that they live a very hectic life as they run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 companies. And so the advert you see to the right, we don't advertise too much, so that's why I've picked these two. You might not have seen them yet. For those who know, a softer tone commands the most attention. It's about silence with a clear view and focus on the customer benefit, on the final customer benefit. I did mention that our customers are getting younger, and I do hope that some of you have been to our website, Rolls-Royce which we have updated and refreshed just 3 days ago. But you find us on Facebook. We've got a YouTube channel as well. There is an iPhone app, and for those who haven't done so, I definitely recommend to download that iPhone app, because it allows you to take a photo of your favorite color, of your nail varnish, and apply it within that app to your favorite body type, to a convertible or to a Phantom Coupe, which just illustrates the opportunities you have when it comes to individualization or personalization of a car. And sometimes we try to surprise as well. And a very good example how we try to surprise people is the website 21stCenturyLegends.com.
Legends have always surrounded the world's most extraordinary motor cars. In the 1950s, Rolls-Royce produced a car that was so well engineered that the loudest thing you could hear at 60 miles an hour was the ticking of the clock. In the 21st century, the benchmarks are a little higher. So can a car with supercar performance still possess that legendary Rolls-Royce hush? Inside a Rolls-Royce Ghost isn't just about sound levels, it's about sound quality. A buzzing mosquito may not be loud, but it is annoying. The interior of a Rolls-Royce has been designed so that conversation should always be effortless.
On the bends, the car is beautifully poised. And then when you ask
it was about silence again, and definitely you don't expect a Rolls-Royce on a racetrack, as it was not about performance and speed and acceleration, but about silence. It was absolutely appropriate for our communications. And please, if you haven't had the chance to do so, go to 21stcenturylegends.com. You'll find more videos there. Amongst them, one video about the man who became a color. We had a customer who requested his individual color, candy red, and we named the color after him. It's now Michael Fuchs Candy Red, a lovely additional story which simply adds to individualization and personalization. Another project which surprised many people, we did celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Spirit of Ecstasy, of the figurine, of the mascot. And on that occasion, we did ask the famous Scottish photographer Rankin to come up with his view on the Spirit of Ecstasy. And he did 100 images for 100 years. Unusual perspectives, unusual interpretations, a very, very modern view on Rolls-Royce and the Spirit of Ecstasy. And we celebrated the end of the centenary year in Moscow in February. So just 1 month ago, with a media reception, we've invited customers to see this exhibition, a really stunning, outstanding exhibition. Unfortunately, you can't see it anymore because the images went back to the UK, but it's available online as well. So if you're interested, just visit our website. So we've got an uncompromising, uncomparable product portfolio. We've got a very rich heritage at Rolls-Royce. We've got a very, very promising customer base for the future, very promising. We think that we are in good shape and that the Spirit of Ecstasy is looking into a very bright future. Thanks for your attention. Time for questions. Yes, please.
Concerning more of the PR, you mentioned some different customers that you have. So I was wondering, how do you make these customers, they're so different, understand that you're the one, it's Rolls-Royce that they want, not anything else, because there are some, they do have a choice of luxury cars. So what is the thing that you do to make them understand that they're the customers that you should come to Rolls-Royce?
Our field of competitors are not other cars, honestly speaking. They are new helicopters, new private yachts. Our customers, the ghost customer in average, and I hate the word average when it comes to our customers, but in average they've got 4 or 5 cars in their garage. They've got a sports car, they've got a 4x4, they've got like your wardrobe at home. They stand in front of the garage and decide each and every morning, I'm in the mood for that car, or it's the occasion for that car. So they don't need an additional car. They had a successful time in their life and they want to reward themselves. So our aim is to be part of their relevant set for that reward. And in that relevant set is a new loft in the harbor of Bordeaux, or a new helicopter, or a new car, luxury car. But if it comes to a luxury car, most of our customers are focusing on one single brand. So they focus on Rolls-Royce and nothing else. And they say, well, it's going to be a luxury car, and in that case, I go for Rolls-Royce. And there are others who focus on a different luxury brand. But our competitive field are more other luxury goods. And so we position ourselves in the luxury field. And we target, of course, lifestyle magazines and lifestyle publications in order to communicate our assets. When you come to Goodwood, and we invite journalists, in particular lifestyle journalists, to Goodwood, when you come to Goodwood and see the level of attention, the investment of time into each and every tiny little detail, you understand why Rolls-Royce is so unique and why it is the best investment you can make. Any other? Yes, please.
Yeah, I was quite impressed by the numbers of 2010, the results. And it struck me because normally in the economic turmoil in Europe, we would expect that people will not buy these kind of goods because, like, for example, in France, I'm living in France for the moment. and like it's sometimes Rolls-Royce is seen as like showing off, only a way to show off. And so, do you think that, for example, in the next years, your brand is going to expand more in like China, India, or South America rather than Europe because of this current situation that is making it hard to buy Rolls-Royce today?
As I said, we had growth last year in Europe, more than 20%. We had growth in France, more than 40%. I would describe a Rolls-Royce as a symbol for success. My impression is that there are other vehicles which are more red and noisier, which are vehicles to show off. So when I talk to customers, they see it as a symbol for success, and it's a very positive thing to be successful. So from their perspective, they reward themselves for their hard work and they show their success. For the future, looking back for the last 5 years, when I joined Rolls-Royce, we sold nearly every second car into the US, which was not a healthy situation. So we very carefully and consciously managed our business in a way to be not too dependent from one single market. And that's what we want to avoid for the future as well. Currently, we are quite in balance. So Americas with 30%, Asia with 30%, Europe with 20%, and the Middle East with 20%. That puts our business in a very healthy state, actually. So we don't want to force single markets. We want to have a healthy development. We want to have a stable business development in balance. Did it answer your question?
Yeah.
And the interesting point about what does a Rolls-Royce tell you? I'm afraid I rarely have the chance, but when I drive around in a Rolls-Royce, and luckily I've got grey hair so the people trust that it's mine. When I drive around in a Rolls-Royce, I've never had any negative comment. The people, the construction site workers in France, they put up their thumbs, they wave their hand, because it's such a rare, such a special occasion. Even here in Moscow, where you've got something like the aggregation of wealth in Russia, you hardly see Rolls-Royces on the street. And yesterday, when I went from the airport to the hotel, people were looking into the car because they want to know who's sitting inside. Is it someone they know from the movies or from television or someone else? And our customers have the self-confidence to stand there. Any other, please?
The movies you just mentioned that fact. We all knew that James Bond as a symbol of luxury style, maybe also just prestige, yes. And here we can see Rolls-Royce only several times during the films about James Bond. So why the symbol of such maybe in some way of England even, it happens so rare, only in Goldfinger and maybe one more film. And could we expect this miracle in the future, maybe the appearance of Rolls-Royce in the films about James Bond?
Well, nowadays, I'm afraid I have to disappoint you. No Rolls-Royces in future James Bonds. Because nowadays you have to pay for the appearance in these movies, and you have to pay a fortune. And our philosophy is not to pay for content in magazines, not to pay for the appearance in movies. We had one appearance last year, which was in Rowan Atkinson's movie, Johnny English 2. Don't know if any one of you has seen it. But Rowan is definitely a very, very good friend of the brand. He's got a very close relationship to our chief designer. And he did approach us and asked, I'm planning for my next movie, for Johnny English 2. Could you do me a favor and make a very special Phantom Coupe for me? And we said, with pleasure, because he's a good customer as well. And some of you might have seen it. It's a V16 engine in a Phantom Coupe. An engine which we never produced, but Rowan knew that it exists. So we've put that engine into his Phantom Coupe, and he used it for Johnny English 2. A great PR story, of course, but we didn't pay anything for it.
And do you know if your customers drive the Rolls-Royce cars themselves, or they prefer to have personal drivers? And has it something to do with the positioning of the brand?
Well, funny enough, Rolls-Royce discovered in 1918, so right after the First World War, that more and more customers are driving their own car. So 90 years ago, it started that the chauffeur with a hat disappeared. Nowadays, it very much depends on the culture. In China, it belongs to the culture to be chauffeured. You're showing with your car that you are a reliable and trustworthy business partner. The larger the car, the more reliable you are, and of course you need a chauffeur. So 100% of our customers in China are being chauffeured. Having said that, if they want to take their family during the weekend out for lunch, they drive themselves as well. In the US, I would estimate, and you've seen the example with a customer with a surfboard, in the US I would estimate 95% of the customers drive their own car. In Russia, it depends on the model. Phantom, most of the customers are chauffeured. Ghost, most of the customers, 90% drive their own car. And Ghost is the most driver-oriented car we've ever built. It's the most informal Rolls-Royce we've ever done. So it appeals to a different type of customer as well. But the majority in Europe drives their own car.
Thanks for a wonderful presentation. I just had a question. Who do you consider your main competitor in the business of cars?
Well, as I said, our major competitors are new yachts, new helicopters, no other cars.
Not even a Maybach?
Well, if you look into the garage of our customers, they do have this luxury four-door saloon. Hopefully, in most of the cases, a Rolls-Royce. If you see the sales figures of Maybach over recent years, I wouldn't regard them as comparable to our sales figures. So Maybach was not a competitor. It's sad that they decided to leave the ground, because whenever Maybach had news, of course we benefited from it as well, because there were news for the overall marketplace, but they weren't a competitor.
And what about the new Bentley Mulsanne?
Once again, the Mulsanne, if you compare it from a positioning perspective, from a price bracket point of view, it fits into the price bracket for Ghost extended wheelbase. Most of the customers who buy a Ghost buy that luxury car as their first super luxury car. So they had their Mercedes S-Class 600, they had a long version of the BMW 7 Series, and they step up for the very first time in the super luxury segment. Our research says they didn't consider any other car. They went straight for the Rolls-Royce Ghost. There might be exceptions, I'm absolutely sure there are exceptions, but the decision for or against a Rolls-Royce, not like we would compare a BMW 3 Series with an Audi A4. It's a completely different scenario and a completely different purchasing process.
I apologize for the immodest question, but what car do you particularly drive? At least what brand?
I had the pleasure yesterday to be picked up in a Rolls-Royce Ghost at the airport, which was definitely appropriate, and arrival and continuing the journey in style. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen too often. When I do have official obligations, official appointments, I do drive a Rolls-Royce. And when I'm traveling on private basis, we benefit from the fact that we belong to the BMW group, so I do have access to the company car scheme of BMW. And as you've seen, I've got a dog, so I need quite a roomy car.
What are the requirements for a person who wants to work for Rolls-Royce? Yeah, it was so interesting, so I couldn't wonder.
Well, I think there is not the profile, because our business is so individual and so emotional that we need individuals. Individuals who are passionate about the brand, who are passionate about the business, who do have a certain access to the luxury world in general. If you have these prerequisites, you've got really good prerequisites, but that's not the guarantee to be able to start at Rolls-Royce. What we do, we offer internships at Goodwood and in our regional offices, so that might be an opportunity to get in touch and to learn more about the business, and the company learns about you as well, which is in most of the cases an advantage.
Thank you. Well, do you think it's, well, of course you know it, is it actually necessary to know something about the inside of how the car was made, to know something about engineering in order to work in the PR sphere of, well, Rolls-Royce? So is it indispensable to know how it was made in order to promote it? Or don't you consider?
I don't have any idea about cylinders and torque and stuff like that. I don't know if it helps or not.
Yeah, it does a lot. Thanks.
Thank you. We know that Her Majesty Elizabeth II and the Royal Court use Rolls-Royce cars, and your production has very aristocratic status. And is the number of aristocrats and noblemen high? Is high in your company, or what percent of noblemen use Rolls-Royce?
But at the very beginning, when Rolls-Royce was founded in 1904, each and every vehicle was a luxury good, because there were only the aristocrats who were able to invest into cars. So at the very beginning, aristocrats played a major role in our business approach. In the meantime, this has changed, and when you look back into history, in the 1920s already, the big steel barons in the US, the Waldorf Astoria family, and others who founded their company and their business, they bought Rolls-Royces. So I would say since the 1920s of the last century, the majority of our customers are entrepreneurs, are business-related. We still have members of the ruling families, but they are only a tiny little proportion of our customer base.
I have another question. You talked about electricity, electric cars in your presentation. Do you think that in the next years you are going to expand these types of cars, or do you think that it's only an exception for the moment and that there is no plan to have a broad production of electric cars?
It's actually what we try to find out with that car. Is there a market for it? As we are such a small company, we are a mid-sized company with just 1,000 employees. We need to be absolutely sure that each and every drivetrain or model we offer finds enough customers. We are not a hobby, we are a proper business. We need to be profitable, we need to find our customers. And so we have to be absolutely sure when we think about alternative drivetrains that this alternative drivetrain, hybrid, electric, hydrogen, diesel, whatsoever, will find its customers. Having said diesel, I can rule out diesel. But that's why we did the project with 102X, with the experimental car, to get in touch with our customers and find out, would they buy something like that?
I have read that concerning the European market, for the moment, enterprises are waiting before launching electric cars because they fear that if this strategy is a failure, they will have very big how can I say, weakness comparing to other brands. I think it's the same situation for you. You have to wait for other competitors to try it before doing it.
Well, we've got the self-confidence to say we understand our customers and we're waiting for the final results of that tour. We've got the self-confidence to say our customers tell us that, and that's our decision. We make that independent from other car manufacturers. And that's one big advantage of such a small company. But we have to be absolutely sure it is the right decision, and otherwise we won't make that decision.
So I have another question. You've been, you told us that you've been researching and you research again. Where is the PR? Just more particularly in the advertisement. Like, what do you exactly do apart from thinking and researching? And the second is, how did you grow to be what you are today?
Me personally, to start with a research bit first, and you will stop me once we run out of time, don't you? We still have time left on 5 minutes. Okay. So to start with the first question first, 102X was a great marketing tool. As I said, our customers are a very rare breed, and it's hard to get in touch with them. If you invite customers to drive something which only exists once on this planet, it's a one-off piece. you get their attention and they will come to drive this car. So it's a great, great marketing tool beyond having the chance to talk to them about alternative drivetrains. But of course, when we announced 102X, it was a big PR wave as well. The first electric Rolls-Royce is something spectacular for the media. And of course, we try to capitalize on that as well, because it's positive news for the company, for Rolls-Royce Motor Cars. And it's the first step to approach customers. Because only if customers know to a certain extent about the background to the project, they are willing to spend their time, to invest the time to test drive that car. So it's always a combination of both. We've got a certain focus on our customers, how to reach them, but of course we try to capitalize on it from a PR perspective as well. Second part, incidentally. No, it's, as I said, it's our business is so individual and so emotional. I grew up in a different industry. I used to work for Canon, cameras, copiers, and stuff like that. And then I joined BMW in 1999, and I met my former boss. Incidentally, I bumped into him. We had a nice chat, and he liked what I did, and he liked me, and he offered me a job. And trust me, it's one of the best jobs on this planet.
To work for Rolls-Royce company and to drive for cars in Rolls-Royce cars. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks for your time. Have a great day. Thank you.